Welcome to this next video on the Land Rover. This is a very exciting one. I'm going to have a little bit of nervous energy actually because I've just been spinning the engine over. So stay tuned and we'll get this video to that point. So preparation for the first engine start really. Let's get into it. I've got to put the clips in first and then the grille will go on later. But I'll get those in first and then I'll get this mounted. It's really going to start to look like a Land Rover then. So first it's the little clips that hold the grille onto that front panel. And then the panel goes onto the chassis. It's only 3 little bolts. The rest of the strength is in the wings, I think. That's what holds the thing from flopping forwards and backwards. For the time being, it's just the radiator hoses actually that stop it from flopping forwards and backwards. So those 3 bolts that bolt to the chassis have large rubber washers in them as well, so there's plenty of play for movement and things like that. And then these many bolts hold the radiator to the front panel. This is the latch, the bonnet latch here, which is anodised and something. It's nice, it just needs a clean up. So cleaned up, I painted the top section as well. You can see these bolts here, I used my impact gun to get those in. You should get an impact gun, folks, if you haven't got one. They're life changing, they speed these jobs up so much. This is the bonnet strip, brand new bonnet strip. It's just a support so it doesn't scratch paint when the bonnet rests on the top of that panel. And then these little clips. So I've melted through them with a hot piece of steel so the clips can go through. And there it is, all finished up. Ain't she sweet? It's the bottom hose, and I cannot recommend strongly enough to use, just buy a pack of them, genuine Jubilee clips. They are much better than any of the rip-offs. They just break so easily, the rip-offs. You can't get anywhere near the clamping tension on them. There's the radiator cowling, and then there's this extra one which is kind of unique to Land Rover, I think. And I don't know whether it stops water splashing around when you go through deep water or something, I'm not sure, but it doesn't appear to be necessary, but there it is anyway. On goes the top hose with some more genuine Jubilee clamps. That's it then, the whole front cooling pack they call it in a modern car, but it's just a radiator, isn't it really? And the grille is on, and the bonnet support, clamp, both the cowls, just the wings now. And that front little bit in the bumper. Then of course the wiring to do. So I could now, I'm at a point where I could do the engine, fill it with coolant and start it. That's a bit exciting, isn't it? That is a bit exciting. Oh yeah. So having tried to get that gear out underneath the distributor, I can't think if it's just locked with oil or if there's some other reason, but I didn't worry too much about it. I just whipped the plugs out. Instead of priming the pump with a drill, I primed the whole engine by spinning it over. So in goes 5 litres of 2050 mineral oil. I think it's Miller oils, that's it, and it's got a high zinc content, ZDDP, which is great for camshafts. I think it prevented a lot of wear on a mini engine in the 60s. Somebody can fill me in, but I believe that's the stuff. So out comes the oil pressure switch. Okay, so I've taken the oil cylinder off and I've got this kit from my previous project, which I'm going to use to try and measure the oil pressure. Just on the crank, just cranking it over, that's all. So I wasn't able to get that gear out. I'm not going to worry about it too much. I lubricated the engine properly with engine building lube. It's just that it's been a while, so I wanted to pre-wind it with a drill. But I can't seem to do it. So taking the plugs out, I mean there's no stress on the engine at all. I spin it on the starter motor. The pump is submerged in the sump, so it's self-priming. And yeah, just spin it on the motor now. So let's see if I can get a connection on there now. And then I can actually see the pressure go up, hopefully. And I can leave that on there for the first run as well. I think that's ready to go. The fitting that goes in the union, the oil pressure sender, sorry, is useless. You can see all the PTFE on it. Look, that's the thread. So it's only engaged by about 1 thread, which is ridiculous. But I bought this kit with 10 different unions in it, and none of them fit the Discovery. None of them fit the Land Rover. I don't know what the hell they were made for, but so we should have some oil registering on here now. I put 5 litres in, which is ample. Oh yeah, it's on high, but it hasn't gone through the filter yet, so there's enough in there to run the engine really, but I'll top it up after this crank. So let's do it. Alright, so you've got the oil pressure gauge in shot here. Let's see how we go. Well, flipping heck, something sounds horrendous. God, what have I done now? I assume you hear the clanking. Oh, Christ. I'm just going to spin that by hand because I have a feeling it's a starter motor noisy gear or something or other. When you move the flywheel, this can happen, as in remove it and refit it.
that's completely silent. Obviously not going as fast as the motor, but I think that's the starter motor, so I'm not going to worry too much about that yet. Yeah, baby! Oh, fantastic. I'm going to check there's some oil under the rocker, and then we're going to fire this thing up.
It's nice to see there's oil in the rocker because it means the little transfer union you can see on the left hand side of the back end of the head there is working. It means all the oil ways are clear. This is the furthest it gets from the oil pump, so it's also the highest fighting gravity. So if you've got oil coming out of these rockers, you're really in good shape.
Right, another spin on the motor then. Hopefully we'll see oils coming out of these rockers.
So it looks like they have an excess drain oil on the top of the rocker. Normally it comes spewing out the side of the shaft, but you can see it coming out the actual top of the rockers here as well. So plenty of oil there, and all 8 rockers loads coming out.
Yeah, it's still a solid 40 psi. Good stuff. Let's put it back together. With that done, I'm very pleased now. We've got good oil pressure. When I spin the engine over by hand, all that noise goes away. So I'm going to put the plugs back in. I've got to get top dead center again, use my markings that I took out, put the distributor back in, and then I might statically time it one more time to get it pretty close to a safe place to start it. And then it's the oil's in, so it's coolant next, and fuel, and then she should fire up, which is pretty close now. Very exciting. Well, with that potential disaster averted, I think I'm going to leave it there. And in the next video, we will turn the key with fuel in the carb and with sparks in the plugs, and we'll see if this thing goes.